towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work to
IHDRF is proud to announce the launch of its app My Sadaqah. My Sadaqah is a modern, easy, and interactive way for you to pay your charity. Your Sadaqah can be transferred instantly and directly start helping orphans. Furthermore, you can donate to different projects such as clothing orphans, supplying clean water, heating fuel for the winter, and feeding the hungry. When you pay your Sadaqah, it will be used to feed, clothe, and school orphans. Our app is accessible via the App Store and Google Play Store. Download today and pay your Sadaqah on My Sadaqah.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We do take in all your questions. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please send it via the WhatsApp, the email address, or alternatively, give us a call here live in the studio, 0203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer your question. I'm your host, Imam Hussein Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, let's start off with the biha. And the first question I have is it permissible for a butcher to slaughter the animal at night time?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. One of the makruh or discouraged acts of the biha, or slaughtering the halal animal, is to slaughter at night. That's one of the makruh acts in which the one who is in a slaughterhouse should ala kulli hal appreciate and consider when they do the biha. However, if it's in the case of necessity and need, there's no issue with it. So, some situations it will lift the hukm of makruh, for example, due to some issues ala kulli hal. But in overall, the act of slaughtering at night is discouraged and makruh.
I see, excellent. Sheikhna, if a fish falls out of water, or a wave throws it outside the water, or if the water recedes and the fish is left on the ground, if one catches it by his hand or by another tool before it dies, would this process render the fish halal?
Yes, indeed. I mean, the fish is halal in this way because the condition is that you have to catch the fish alive from the water,
yeah,
and by hand or by tool of a human being,
yes,
and not by itself.
I see. Sheikhna, if a non-believer or a nasibi, a person who shows animosity towards the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, hunts the animal using a weapon and recites Bismillah when hunting, would this render the meat halal?
Like the biha conditions and slaughtering of halal meat, also in hunting, the hunt would not be halal if the non-Muslim or the nasibi do the process of hunting, even by saying Bismillah. They have to be Muslim. They must be Muslim, and believing in the Shahadatin at least, and be able to consider all the conditions of the hunting, saying Bismillah, shooting the animal, for example, killing the animal, and so forth, what is required for the hunting conditions.
Sheikh, speaking of animals and so forth and hunting, certain animals you cannot use to hunt. For example, rabbits, crocodiles, cats, even dogs. Certain dogs are not really suitable for hunting. Islamically speaking, are we allowed to trade with these dogs? Or these animals, sorry, should I say?
I mean, if there is an appropriate usage for these animals in somehow, let's say you want to open a zoo, for example, and you want to buy specific animals for the zoo, or for whatever is reasonable, rationally is reasonable and feasible then of course there's no objection for the one to buy or trade with these animals in this situation.
Sheikhna, with Shia, the Jafri school of thought, we only eat fish with scales. However, if we're working in a fish market or with a fishmonger, and let's say that there are certain fishes which we do not eat, for example, lobster, crab, other seafoods as well, where fishes do not have scales, are we still allowed to sell them to non-Muslims who are going to either consume it, they're going to eat it, or they might use it to some other use? Are we still allowed to sell it to them?
Yes, it is permissible for them because they consider these types of meat ala kull hal halal, or permissible for them and not for us. So we can sell it to them in this situation, except the pork meat.
I see, excellent. Sheikhna, I've got some questions here from the WhatsApp that have been received. Assalamu alaikum, my marja is Sayyid Sistani. Does one need to pay khums on money saved to purchase a house?
Any excess money in which you haven't paid khums for in the previous year, and this money is being collected for the purpose of buying a car, for travel, holidays, to buy a house and so forth, because you haven't used this money during the year, you haven't spent it, then of course the khums will be liable on this amount of money.
I see.
I mean, all the ulama would agree on such fact that khums is entitled to any surplus, to any ghanima or ma ghanimtum, whatever is being gained and unused excess of money during the year, then you have to pay khums, of course.
Excellent. Sheikh, now we've got a question again from the WhatsApp, and that is, what is the ahkam on investing in digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum?
These are basically new types of business and trading in which we need to investigate more with this regard to see how exactly the business is being carried out and how they buy and sell. I have basically a copy of the response from the office of Ayatollah Sheikh Fayyad with this regard, dating 15 Safar 1443 Hijri, and he was asked about trading within the Bitcoin business sector, and his response was that Bismillah Ta'ala al-ahwad wujuban tarku at-ta'amul biha. So it is as an obligatory precaution to avoid trading in this type of business.
Oh wow.
That's according to Ayatollah Fayyad. Maybe you have to forward the question to other Maraja as well to see what is their opinion. That's important. Okay. But if it's in overall, if these businesses are similar to the stock market business or the currency exchange and so forth, which is halal in terms of the trade, then there should be no issue with it. But again, as I've said, you have to go back to your marja to see if they allow it. Here we have Ayatollah Fayyad wouldn't allow it, according to this copy of the mas'ala which I've received. So, ala kulli hal, you have to go back to your marja.
Ahsan. Okay, Sheikhna, it is normal these days for women to put on mascara and makeup, even a little, for beauty, and then go out in front of people in the markets and streets. What is the ruling as such, according to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani?
His Eminence mentions that, this is not permissible. So anything that known to be as adornment, be it a mascara, be it a light makeup, for example, anything that known to be as a beautification of the woman's face, for example, and zina would not be allowed in public, of course, where there are men in public, and she must cover, if she do so, she must cover her face when she goes out. Not to be seen by the non-mahram men.
Sheikh, is it permissible for women to wear a ring and go out while being visible to non-mahram men, according to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khorasani?
The Sheikh mentions that it is not permissible to show this ring in front of the non-mahram men. Again, he considers this to be as a zina, as a beautification and adornment that must be concealed. Now, other ulama have different opinion in this regard. Some would allow it, some would allow it with conditions. Like Ayatollah Sistani, that he says, if it's known to be as, the intention is to attract the opposite gender, or ala kulli hal, to show it as beautification and zina, then of course it's haram. So, 3 different opinions with this regard.
Ahsan. Sheikh, if one used to listen to songs and has decided to stop, is it permissible for him to sell them and use their proceeds? So let's say they have a collection. I know DJs especially, they have a very, very large vinyl collection. Sometimes they're worth quite a lot because they're collectibles and so forth. And CDs, now, a lot of material is now digital. But yes, CDs, tapes, vinyl records, as Muslims, are we allowed to sell these if we're going to give up music?
No, it is not permissible, and they have to use different ways and methods to get rid of these musics. If they can delete them, then they can do so. Otherwise, if they can't delete them, they can recycle, let's say, the tapes or the CDs and so forth. Because you cannot be, it's not allowed for the one to spread the falsehood or the corruption or the fasad. And the Quran is very clear that وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, do not participate in spreading sin and corruption. So we have to avoid such acts.
Sheikh, we've got a message here from someone from the YouTube, and they're asking, I want to pass an important exam. Can you tell me which surah or name of Allah I should recite to pass it? I will of course study the syllabus as well. Maybe a dua or maybe some amal that in order for success, inshallah, that you can help this individual out with, please, Sheikhna.
There are different du'as, to be honest, and some verses. Briefly, when you go to your exam session, recite وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. That's a Quranic verse, of course. And then, if you want a dua as well, after each salah, recite this dua. You'll find this dua in تعقيبات العامة in مفاتيح الجنان, the beginning of the book of مفاتيح الجنان, where we have تعقيبات, mustahabbat after salah. The dua begins سبحان من لا يعتدي على أهل مملكته, سبحان من لا يأخذ أهل الأرض بألوان العذاب, to the end of the dua. Recite this, inshallah. It will give you, inshallah, the opportunity to be able to memorize better and inshallah do the exam well.
We were always told in Hawza when we were doing hifadh to remember to always do it after the Fajr Salah. That is a very, very good period. It's very, very quiet, it's very, very calm. So after you pray your Fajr Salah until dawn, that period, even they say your body is very, very relaxed and can absorb the most information. That's the best time to do any form of revision, inshallah, and we wish you all the success with your studies. Sheikhna, can a woman or even a man perform wudu by wiping over their long hair?
You have to make sure that if the long hair falls on your forehead,
yes,
then of course you can't wipe on it. So you have to make sure you open between the two hairs and wipe on the root, the roots of your hair, basically. So basically you have to wipe on the head and not on the moving hair. That's important. So yeah, you have to make sure it reaches your head in overall.
Sheikhna, a very, very interesting question here. I mean, this topic is always up for debate. When we say we can eat from people of the Ahlul Kitab, is that the physical or spiritual? So can we eat foods from Hindus even if it's vegetarian, but they've touched it with their wet hands? Now, Sheikhna, before you answer, this topic has always been discussed in the Hawza, and it goes back and forth and so forth. But for now, as we know from the Maraja, and I think it is the opinion of majority of Maraja, that this is not acceptable, correct?
Basically, what we see, let's say, on the shelves of the supermarkets, as I mentioned before, cooked food, fried food, ready-made sandwiches, and so forth, from any faith or religion. as long as you haven't seen by your own eyes
Okay.
or been told from the trustee that they have touched it with wet hand, then كل شيء لك طاهر. Everything is pure
Yes.
unless you are certain that it is najis. حتى تعلم أنه نجس بعينه. You're certain that it is najis, then you must avoid it. But you haven't seen what you see in front of your dinner table is let's say vegetable curry. That's it, for example, or hummus or salad or fried falafel, for example, by non-Muslim. If you have seen it with your own eyes that they have touched it with wet hand, then of course you have to avoid. Otherwise, everything is tahir unless you're certain it's najis.
Sheikh, a question from the WhatsApp. Should one prefer to go to Hajj or Ziyarah first if you want to go to both?
Initially, the first Hajj, which is known as Hajjat al-Islam, the wajib, obligatory Hajj, is wajib upon every single adult believer to go at least once in their lifetime. And this is wajib. You can't leave it, you can't ignore it. If you are capable and mustati', you have the money, you have the means, the road is safe, the country allows you to come to that, to do the manasik in Mecca and Medina. So you have the ability to go there, then it's wajib. You have to do this wajib, like salah, like siyam, and so forth. Wajib is wajib. You can't ignore and neglect it. No way.
Yes.
However, with regards to the mustahab hajj, of course we have many ahadith and narrations with regards to Ziyarat al-Hussein alayhi salam, in which would be having more thawab and reward than the hajj. Let me take this hadith from Kamil al-Ziyarat, a great source of hadith with regards to the ziyarat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. The narrator asked Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says to the Imam, "May my parents be your sacrifice. It is narrated from your father and al-Baqir alayhi salam that ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is equal to a hajj and a umrah. So this hajj and umrah equals to one of the ziyarat al-Hussein alayhi salam. But let's see what Imam replies, salamullah alayhi. Imam al-Sadiq says, yes, a hajj and an umrah. A hajj and an umrah. The narrator says that Imam alayhi salam counted 10 hajj and umrahs, imagine, for every ziyarat al-Hussein. So if you've been to Arba'in this year, you got, according to this hadith, 10 hajj and umrah. Allah Azza wa Jal gives this exception to Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. And these hajj and umrah are mustahab, of course, as you know. As I've said, wajib remains wajib.
Yes.
You have to perform the wajib if you're capable and mustati'. But for the mustahab, of course, Ziyarat al-Hussein alayhi salam is preferred over 10 hajj and umrah. According to the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we follow Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We take the teachings and our faith from them because they continue the teachings of their grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, in which he told us to follow the holy book, Kitabullah, the Quran, and his progeny, Ahlul Bayti, Atrati. So we follow them accordingly, compared to other sects who ignore Ahlul Bayt and even the Quran. They don't apply the Quran in their life as well.
Sheikh, some questions coming in from the WhatsApp. These ones are coming just now. Okay, so the pre-ejaculation, which is not considered sperm, so before ejaculating, sometimes it's pre-ejaculation. Is this fluid najis or is it tahir?
No, it's tahir. There's no issue.
That one is tahir. Is it permissible to chat with girls on the internet?
It is not permissible unless it is to do with, I don't know, professional contacts. Let's say
so
work-related studies and so forth.
I see.
But just to chat, spend some time for pleasure, then that's haram, of course.
I see. Due to a number of miscarriages, the doctors have stated, due to my condition, I can no longer get pregnant, and we're trying for a baby. Is it possible to have a womb donor for to us to have our fertilized egg, and to use a surrogate mother to carry the fetus in their womb. Is that allowed? Is that acceptable according to Islamic law?
If it's from the husband and wife and they hire womb, that should be fine.
Okay. Last question. Sheikh, how does a woman enter Janaba through a marital relation? So is it that, once she's penetrated, she becomes Janub, or is it that she has to climax and so forth? How does it work?
Yeah, there is a discussion with this regard that if she reaches a specific stage in which she feels that على كل حال, even without penetration, for example, على كل حال, there's a discussion with this regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sheikh, we're going to go to a short video, inshallah. Join us as we will discuss the video on our screens right now.
نويت أن أصلي صلاة الفجر قربة إلى الله تعالى. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر.
Oh, shall I go for qunut? Is this my first rak'ah or my second rak'ah? What shall I do?
Fantastic there. Sheikhna, you saw there in the video, it was Shabab praying Fajr Salah. Wasn't sure whether it was his first or second rak'ah to perform the qunut. In this situation, what does one do?
The doubt or the check between 1 and 2, the first rak'ah and second rak'ah, or like Salat Subuh or Salat Musafir, the very first 2 rak'ahs, doubt would make the Salah batil. So this brother needs to repeat the Salah again.
From the beginning?
Yes.
I see. Sheikhna, the word batul, what does it mean?
I have found in the some of the books, such as Marital Uqul, a statement which gives the meaning of the word batul, which is given to Az-Zahra alayhi salam. It says وسميت فاطمة عليه السلام البتول لانقطاعها عن نساء زمانها فضلا ودينا وحسبا. She detached herself from the woman of her time. Fatima alayhi salam is a great exemplar of the woman of the world, from the first day, from Eve to the last woman, just before hereafter. She is the best example and the best woman of the world. So she detached herself from the woman of the world in what? In quality, in faith, and in nobility. She's a different woman على كل حال. And the rest of the statement says وقيل لانقطاعها إلى الله تعالى, that she detached from herself from the woman to devote herself to Allah Azza wa Jal. Always she was in ibadah, in severe ibadah and constant dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, and housework as well. Imagine housework, cooking for the family,
household
chores for the kids, and so forth. So she was a great example of woman in the world through the course of the history of humanity.
Ahsan. Sheikh, a couple of questions here from the WhatsApp. I've got, when praying Jama'ah and I am 1 rak'ah behind, and when the Imam of the Jama'ah reaches the last tashahhud, would I need to wait for him until he says Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, then get up to perform my last rak'ah separately, or can I get up straight away and at the beginning of the Imam's tashahhud?
So he's joined the Imam Jama'ah on the second rak'ah?
Yes. So the Imam Jama'ah is finishing his salah, he still has to get up and perform 1 more rak'ah. Where does he get up? Does he listen to the tashahhud and get up, or can he get up straight away and carry on his salah?
It's better to remain till the Imam says salam, the full salam, and to get up, but they can do so before that as well.
I see. Excellent. Sheikh, nice easy one for you. Salam, is chess allowed to be played, and if not, why? And it's from the YouTube channel.
The chess, of course, it's a haram game, and we have narrations with this regard. It's difficult for me to narrate these narrations with the regard of chess. It's very strong narrations with this regard. It's very tough. I can't really narrate them very strong. But على كل حال, when the Imam عليه السلام, the Ma'soom from Allah Azza wa Jal, says that this is haram, then we have to follow. So it's part of the gambling games. على كل
Yes, it's
حال.
an instrument of gambling, yeah.
Exactly. And I can say the vast majority of the ulama have given the fatwa that it's haram. If not the consensus, the vast majority, that it's haram game. You can't play because there's nas, there's a text, there's a statement from the Ma'soom that it's haram. So we can exchange with other games, mashallah. We have plenty of games, electronic games, and so forth.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
According to His Eminence Sayyid Sadiq Rouhani, is shaving the sides of the beard allowed? I'm not sure if we know directly, we might have to contact his office. But in general, Sheikhna, shaving the sides of the beard, I don't think it's really recommended, is it?
Some of the ulama would have such a fatwa that this part of the face is not wajib to to keep. You can shave, but majority of the ulama would say no. This part of the face, which there's a bone on the side, they have to have the beard on. And على كل حال, I'm not sure about the fatwa of Ayatollah Rouhani with this regard, but quite one or two of the ulama, I remember, they had this fatwa that you can basically.
Sayyid Khoury, I remember.
Exactly.
He allowed the shaving of the sides.
So, but the rest, I haven't seen someone saying you can. I can't remember. Either a fatwa that's haram or ihtiyat wujubi. So
inshallah, we'll probably do some research. We'll go back to that question next week, inshallah. Next on Monday's episode, inshallah, we'll discuss that one again properly when we get the answer. Sheikh, if I sleep through the night prayer and do not pray the witr, do I have to make it up after?
I mean, in general, the one can do qada and make up the qada of the Salat al-Layl, Namaz al-Shab afterwards. That's fine, there's no issue with it. You can pray as qada afterwards.
Excellent. Sheikhna, can you please ask ruling on someone walking in front of someone praying namaz? This is in a home environment. It is prohibited to walk in front of someone praying namaz. So when someone is praying, are you allowed to walk in front of them, walk past them? Sometimes they're in the way and it's a bit inconvenient. Especially in the mosque, when after Jama'ah prayer, some want to stay and do some extra nafila prayers and so forth, and we need to get out and go back to work or whatever. What is the ruling?
Basically, it's mustahab to put something in front of you if you pray in public places where people are passing by. To put something, your tasbih, for example, your bag, I don't know, your hat, your scarf, whatever you have, to put it in front of you as a sign that there's somebody is praying in this place. And it is said that it is makruh for the one to pass in front of the one who is praying, the musalli. But it wouldn't break his namaz or salah if somebody passed. Unlike some other madhahib or sects in which
strictly forbidden.
I saw a fatwa from one of them, their Wahhabi scholar. He was saying that if it's less than 1.5 meter, ثلاثة أذرع, then of course you can't pass through. So you can prevent somebody from passing. Just prevent them. Otherwise, it's not allowed in the aqidah of Ahl al-Jama'ah.
Ahsan. Sheikh, a question, I think it's come all the way from Africa, this one. Please, could you teach me how to perform Istahara in order to choose a wife for marriage? Sheikh, first of all, Istahara for marriage, is that okay to do? Is it recommended? Or do you think maybe you should make your own decision? And secondly, two forms of Istahara, Tasbih and also the Quran. Could you explain to the brother or sister how to do it?
على كل حال, Istahara should be referred back to those who are على كل حال have knowledge with this regard, especially the Quranic Istihara, know the ayat tafsir, have some knowledge, general knowledge about the Quran and understanding the tafsir of the Quran. So it's better to refer back to a Mawlana or to Alim or to somebody who has some kind of knowledge, not necessarily be a Sheikh or a Sayyid. And for the marriage Istikhara, initially you have to, number one, investigate about the individual, be it the male or the female, a thorough investigation, ask about him, about her, for example, ask their friends, their teacher, for example, the one who knows them in overall, to see their akhlaq and faith. من ترضون خلقه ودينه, according to the hadith. If they have akhlaq and faith and deen and religiosity, so very important facts. To have not money and wealth and certificates and so forth. To have, very important, the akhlaq and deen. After investigation, of course, you can do that istihara, that's fine, it's up to you. Or you can do tawakkul ala Allah Azza wa Jalla, and if you see they are actually, they match with each other, it's all fine. You can tawakkul ala Allah and
Inshallah.
Prepare the marriage.
Good luck to the brother or sister there. Sheikh, a question from the YouTube. Salam Sheikh, are there recommended surahs or du'as to make when one feels they are in despair or extreme sadness? Now I know there's riwayat in regards to having black grapes, like very, very dark grapes, when you're in sadness and depression. It really, really helps. Other du'as, Sheikhna, I'm sure there isn't Sayf al-Sajadiyah, there must be something in regards to sorrow and grief and depression of some sort.
One of the very important du'as, which is now recited since the start of the pandemic, the du'a of du'a al-amn, as they call it. It's almost just before the a'mal of Shahr Rajab, Mah Rajab.
Okay.
I think it's after du'a tawassul, almost half-page du'a in Mafatih al-Jinan. Du'a al-amn, ya man tuhallu bihi uqad al-makarih. A great du'a. It repels all types of anxieties, and even if somebody is being pursued by the, let's say, the tyrant in their country, in all types of calamities and anxieties would be repelled, inshallah, by this du'a. Continually, every day, after salah, after ala kull hal, at night, whenever you can. Ya man tuhallu bihi uqad al-makarih, the beginning of the du'a. Great du'a.
MashaAllah.
It's been recited every day from Imam Hussein's shrine. If you follow the adhan of the Imam Hussein's shrine, adhan Maghrib, I think, and adhan al-Dhuhr, mainly adhan al-Maghrib. If you listen to it, the person before the adhan recites this dua every day since the pandemic started.
MashaAllah.
A great dua.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, can I perform wudu over my wet hair? And does this apply to women also, as the women wipe between the hair, not over the hair?
I think we just answered this question, that they can actually, I mean, if the hair is long, then they have to remove it and wipe on the head.
I see.
On the roots of the hair.
No problem. Sheikhna, when performing wudu, I start with the mustahab washing of the hands. Can I place the left hand underneath the tap and then the right hand separately, or do I need to wash them both together?
You can't start from the left hand. You have to start initially your face, and then you have to wash your right hand first, okay, and then the left hand, and then the two masih, the head and the feet. Yes.
I think what they're referring to is at the beginning. There's three mustahabat: the hands, the mouth, the nose. At the beginning.
Of course, these are mustahab. You wash your hand first as a mustahab, and then your nose 3 times, and the mouth, rinse the mouth 3 times, and then you start the actual wajib. Or the required acts of wudu, the washings and the wipings.
Sure, there was a really good question I wanted to ask you. I can't find it, but I'll ask you anyway, because as I can remember it. And it was in regards to those who claim benefits and so forth from the government. Is it acceptable? Is it allowed to give false information or to lie in order to receive maybe a greater sum, or maybe it's just even to receive something from the government?
In overall, Ayatollah Sistani would, ala kulli hal, would not allow for the one to, ala kulli hal, to lie on the government or take something from the government, which he is not entitled to. So Ayatollah Sistani is very strict with this regard in overall. So the one should be honest in overall when they do so, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will fulfill their needs the rizq comes from Allah Azza wa Jal.
That's
So
it,
cheating, fraud,
Mhm.
that also becomes haram because you are giving a bad image, especially if the one is caught and his
Mhm.
name is Ali or Muhammad or Hassan,
Yes.
then that's going to be so bad. So it would be
Indeed.
even haram if it's it reaches the stage of harming yourself
Mhm.
and the ones around you, and of course
Yes.
the Islam as a reputation.
Question from the WhatsApp. Can I have a pet in my house, such as a dog or cat?
With regard to the cat, it's fine, but for the dog is problematic because the
Mhm.
dog is a najus al-ain, is an impure type of animal in which if you want to buy one or have one, it has to be for على كل حال for rational reasons. Something like if you have a farm, a security dog, for example, for hunting and so forth. So it has to be for something useful.
I heard it was mustahab to actually have animals. For example, birds are very well recommended. I think the Imam also used to have
Yeah,
birds,
birds,
and so
chickens,
forth.
and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the easiest animals to have is probably a goldfish. Yeah, you have to like obviously change the water and stuff, but a fish is obviously very, very easy to maintain. Sheikh, euthanasia. Is it permissible to remove a life support machine? Hold on, I'm getting more questions. Is it permissible to remove a life support machine attached to a dying person and the doctors state there is no hope in his recovery with certainty that he will die shortly later?
It's not permissible to take someone's life. They have to pass away naturally. You can't basically stop their life yourself. So you have to leave them and let them die naturally. Allah يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها. Allah يتوفى الأنفس. Allah takes the souls of those who على كل حال pass away.
Another question. Salam, I'm working in as a volunteer assistant. I assist in food preparation. Is it haram to prepare certain foods such as bacon or chicken that is not halal? Food people in need require. Wassalam. So I guess this person's working mainly with homeless people or with poor families that require food and so forth. And as a volunteer, they're helping with the food preparations and so forth. Does the Ahkam in Sharia apply to this person, especially when there's stuff like bacon, pork, nothing about alcohol at the moment, but other meats, beef, chicken, which are not halal?
As mentioned before, for the beef and chicken, he can serve it to those who are non-Muslims. The problem is with the pork or bacon, in which he's not allowed to serve it. So to serve is the problem. But to serve, for example, beef and chicken, that would be, which is not halal, should be fine for those who consider it as permissible for them, like the non-Muslims. So,
Fair enough.
I mean, he
Fair
needs
enough.
to check.
Sheikh, a question from the YouTube. I don't understand it, to be honest. Maybe you can help us out. Assalamu alaikum, Mulana.
Salam.
What is the status of halala in Shiaism? Please explain. Thanks.
Well, I know what the person is asking for. We have something in the ahkam of divorce and talaq,
Okay.
that if somebody made the divorce 3 times from the same wife,
Yes.
the
I
third
see.
time,
Yeah.
if he wants to get married back again to her again, she needs to go and marry someone else,
Yeah.
who is a muhallil, no halal, a muhallil.
Muhallil. Okay.
So he marries that woman, which is his ex-wife, then divorces her, then she can go back to the first,
I see.
the ex-husband.
So after they've been divorced 3 times,
3 times, yes.
she has to marry someone totally different.
Yes, yes.
Divorce them. And then
If she is happy to do so, or the husband, otherwise they can remain forever as husband and wife.
Okay, I see. Fantastic. Another question from the WhatsApp. I've got loads here and everything is fine. I just want to say before I go to the next question that if we haven't answered your question, we do apologize, and inshallah we will answer them on the next episode, which will be on Monday 6:30 on Imam Hussein TV 3. If you're watching via Facebook Live, YouTube, whatever you're watching on, send in your questions, even in the comment section and so forth. Our technical team will pick them up and we will be able to put them onto the next episode of Ahkam SOS, which is on Monday, and inshallah we can answer them on then. Another question here from the WhatsApp, and that is Sheikhna. Is it permissible to steal from unbelievers in their countries or defraud them?
Not at all. These are the rights and the حقوق of حق الناس. You cannot steal them at all, even if they are not Muslims or unbelievers. حق الناس, you can't steal their cars or jewelry and so forth. It's not allowed at all.
Sheikh, is it permissible for one to take part in a vegan diet to make it permanent? So, like, to refrain from meat. Is it haram for a Muslim to refrain from meat? For example, they become a permanent vegan.
Well, it's makruh and discouraged for the one to leave eating meat for more than 40 days. The one shouldn't leave eating meat. I mean, that's not really encouraged to be vegan or vegetarian for your entire life. I mean, the one can actually do a schedule, let's say. If they want to be a vegetarian, let's say, let them have meat, let's say once a month, مثلا. Every 4 weeks, every 3 weeks. Have some meat, some chicken, for example.
No, Sheikh, I can understand some people are not happy with the meat that we get, especially in this country, where the animals are put under stress. God knows what chemicals and steroids they're pumped with and so forth. Sometimes it's not a case of that I don't want to eat meat. It's a case of I don't trust the meat I'm getting. Maybe this meat is not good for me and so forth. So, inshallah, another discussion for another time. Got some questions here from the YouTube channel. How does a man do mut'a marriage? Literal steps. Thank you, Jazakallah khair. I know that it is something recited. First of all, the mahar is agreed. And then I think the female recites something and then the male has to acknowledge it. It's along them lines, no?
It's similar to the permanent marriage contract conditions. The difference is that with the temporary one, you have time is mentioned, the duration. Because it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be within a duration time. Let's say 1 month, 1 week, 1 year, and so forth. So they have to mention the date, or sorry, the duration in the contract, in the nikah contract. Of course, she must be ala kulli hal unmarried. Let's say, if she's a virgin, they have to ask permission from the father.
Yes.
You know, almost the conditions of the permanent are similar to the ones temporary. And it's very strange that when we see in other sects of Islam, they have exactly the same way we have. But the subject or the title is different. They have misyar, they have zawaj al-urfi. It's all similar to temporary. Go to Egypt, go to Saudi Arabia, anywhere you want to go, they have exactly the same procedures of temporary or the mut'a marriage. They have it, but with different titles. Marriage with the intention of divorce, they have it.
I see.
So you marry her, after 1 month you divorce her. That's mut'a. Call it whatever you want to call it. But they accuse us that we use this marriage, na'udhu billah, as the zina and so forth.
Okay. Also, Sheikhna, the aqd that needs to be recited, so does it have to be in Arabic? What if the female cannot speak Arabic? Can she do it in another language? Can someone recite on her behalf?
Ayatollah Sistani mentions that the one, yes, can use in such situation another language, let's say English, for example, as aqd. But the best and safe side is to go back to someone who knows these ahkam, so you won't be reciting the marriage contract in a wrong way or in a false way in which there would be problem. So the best thing is to go back to somebody who you would trust, even if they don't know you, for example.
Yes.
You want to do it in secret, for example. You call a Maulana or somebody who knows, and they can perform on your behalf the contract.
Excellent. Shaykh, a final question for this evening from the YouTube channel. Can I tutor help a classmate of the opposite gender if it involves us being alone in an empty classroom, for example?
I mean, the question is very sensitive because he wants to help opposite gender.
It doesn't say if it's a he. It could be
in a lonely, ala kulli hal, shaitan plays a big part and role in this situation. Because gradually, when you want to help her, for example, you might hear something nice, a bit of maybe laugh, maybe a joke.
Things can get out of hand.
There's a narration I remember from one of the Imams alayhi salam, when one of the Shia, and I think he was blind ala kulli hal, he used to teach a woman Quran, teaching Quran. So he told her something, she started to laugh, a joke or something. When he went to the Imam told him, what did you tell that woman that made her to laugh? Yani you actually bantered and you made a joke with this woman, which is not allowed. She's not your mahram, where you can have a joke and laugh and so forth. So the one should be very careful with these issues, to keep it as much as one can professional. And away from the whispers of shaitan.
Sheikh, thank you so much, and thank you for all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If we didn't read your question out, we do apologize, and we will read those questions on Monday's episode, 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV 3. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please send them in via the WhatsApp, send it via the email address ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv, or why not give us a call live in the studio 0203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss, and the Sheikh will be able to answer your questions. Until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
IHDRF is proud to announce the launch of its app, My Sadaqah. My Sadaqah is a modern, easy, and interactive way for you to pay your charity. Your Sadaqah can be transferred instantly and directly start helping orphans. Furthermore, you can donate to different projects such as clothing orphans, supplying clean water, heating fuel for the winter, and feeding the hungry. When you pay your Sadaqah, it will be used to feed, clothe, and school orphans. Our app is accessible via the App Store and Google Play Store. Download today and pay your Sadaqah on My Sadaqah.
Are you in court for raping English girls? You're here defending the paedophile. I'm here defending your dad. These women are here defending the paedophile. You're here defending.
We don't need a TV channel because we've got mosques.
We have Islamic centres that are always open.
We have schools teaching Islam.